Welcome to Greg Heym's Crossing the Line.
Yay.
We had to take a week off after our 100th episode, Celebrity Bash.
To recuperate from the party?
No, I was actually up in Buffalo,
I can't
spending
believe
Easter
I
with my
missed it.
son. But let's go with that.
We missed you.
I know.
You were missed.
I'll be here for the 200th one.
Excellent.
Will I be here for the 200th one? That's a better question.
Morgan, by then you and I will be running the show, so it won't matter.
This is
We'll
true.
be fine.
Hopefully.
And what do you think the ratings will be compared to what I get?
Well, I don't know. Again,
Not
I'll remind you.
exactly.
I'm going to
Nearly as
remind him.
good.
See, that's a good answer while you're working for me.
Show.
So
Still mine.
this week's show, it's Ladies' Day. You know, we're very dude heavy a lot of the
In
times.
Greg's world, Ladies' Day is every day.
Sure, because
Yes, it is.
if it's not my wife, it's you two, and if it's not you two, it's Nikki.
Yep.
So I can't get away from it.
You have Gregory.
And you don't want to get away.
Yeah, he
from
don't
it.
say much. You know, he texts. You know, that's what
He's
Jen's
Gen
here
Z.
to.
That's what he's supposed to do.
I know. But we have Lisa Ray Castrigno and Morgan Wilkins on the show today, who have to be nice to me since they have the pleasure of working for me. Isn't that true, Morgan?
It is a pleasure. And you know I would say otherwise, right?
No, you wouldn't, but that's okay. They don't need to know that. Well, it's great to be back after a well-deserved week off.
Yes.
You know, it's gruesome doing this show.
Gruesome.
Is it?
Gruesome.
Yeah, I got to be here, deal with Ray. Now we got Kevin taking photographs of everything that we do.
And it was my
love
hair
it.
all.
And you'll be able to order
Perfectly
your favorite crossing the line photos autographed by us.
Oh, yeah.
Email CTL at B. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, other than Lucy, I don't know if there's a market for it.
Please, Lucy's going to wallpaper the den with it. Come on. So let's get right down to it. So we can't say
right to
what we did
business.
like last week. I don't know.
What would you do this weekend?
I had gig
You
after
helped
gig
Lisa
after.
with something this weekend.
He did, and I
Very
am
kind.
eternally grateful. So
See,
I
it's-
cashed in a
Good deeds.
friendship
Here-
and asked him to come over
Well,
and
here's-
lend a hand.
The secret is if you're going to ask your friend or your boss for a favor, wait until you go to his gig on Saturday, catch him when he's having a few after the gig at home, and then like he'll forget he even agreed to do it.
Pretty much.
Picked her timing and she executed perfectly. That's how I see
It was a
that.
perfectly planned and perfectly executed maneuver. And yes, he did. He came and he helped me. And
Well, I'll
It
give
came
her
out
I'll give her
great.
credit.
Good.
She had done virtually everything she could do before I got there. Now, if that had been my wife, it would have just been like, yeah, the boxes are somewhere there. You got to open them and do all that. And yeah, no, so it was fun and didn't take very long.
No.
Nice grill.
surprising, I mean, for me, putting all of the other pieces, because, you know, unboxing,
Yeah.
making sure everything is there, laying it all out, and then piece by piece, you know, reading the direction, putting it in, reading the direction.
All right, that's
putting it
boring.
in.
We're moving on.
Right. He comes for the quick, easy part. I go,
he comes with a compliment and then he's
lift
like,
the
"Oh, we're
heavy,
done."
lift the heavy, the actual grill part. Lift the heavy piece out of the box and just put
I'm
it on
an
there.
old man
and he
with
did
injuries. All that
my
terrible
God.
things can
Meantime,
You
happen.
both
There's a couple of
injuries.
screws that have to go on, and so he starts screwing one side. He comes over and he's like, "What?" I go, "Yeah, they're done. I did them already." And he's like, "Oh, well, okay."
I love that. She's trying to make your life easier.
Pretty
Well, at
much.
least one person is. That is good.
Pretty much. Since he was doing me a huge favor, the least I
Wow.
could do was do the work that I could do. And I
Ray,
did. and I
Ray, you
enjoyed
look like
that.
you had something to say
I
before,
had a
Ray.
joke, but I let it.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
Was
You
it
could-
funny?
Love
We could-
nothing
There's
more.
plenty more where that came
Will
from.
you put on my
Okay.
barbecue? It's a really
No
cute
comment.
barbecue.
Well, you know, it's
Oh, it's our Chief Marketing Officer, Matt Leoni.
wow.
What's this?
Photo bombing or
Something-
video bombing.
I don't know
What's
what
this?
I'm hijacking the show, Greg.
is. That better be a sack of money if you're going to interrupt my
on it,
show.
All money. All
That's
right.
amazing.
So I'm gonna just take over the half mic right now.
Okay, there you go.
So,
Oops.
Greg, I was not at the 100th episode. I wanted you to complete your 100th episode and make it official. No, in fact, I was actually on vacation, but I wanted to get you a gift. All right, and the gift is going to be around the fact that you have yourself eclipsed over 2 million views on your show alone, which is incredible.
Wow.
I cannot
I didn't
believe
even
that.
know.
100 shows, you're already past that number. And I wanted to make sure that these guys were not alone. All right?
Okay.
They shouldn't be alone. They should have the most important people on this. So this is the gift that I give to you. Feel free to open it.
So it's not a sack of money.
There could be some money in there. We'll see.
It's better than
Now,
money.
the first gift, all right? Now, the first gift is an important person, all right?
Fed chairman.
Right now, it's a Fed chair. No, it's Jalen Brunson. Now, Jalen Brunson's going to need a lot of help because he's not playing the Raptors in the first round. He's playing the Hawks, and the Hawks are going to be a big problem, all right? And then if they get by them, they're going to be an even bigger problem waiting for them than the Celtics, and then an even bigger problem in the Pistons, and then impossible against the Thunder. So we're going to need some good luck. And
Where do you want
Jalen
it?
Brunson
The
has
van.
joined here.
Right.
Now, I said important.
Why
And
are you
he's got
holding a
DoorDash.
DoorDash?
Well, because you now have an official third sponsor of DoorDash. But that's not as important as it should be. There needs to be
Make
someone
sure they
even
all
more
fit.
important than that. And that's the last gift. That's the most
There's another
important
gift in
out
there?
of all of it.
Okay.
And you're going to need to do some work to get that open. So we'll see. Some useless tissue
I love seeing you
paper.
open
Yeah.
gifts. I don't see it very often.
Hold the bag, literally. I'm making you holding the bag.
Well, you know. This is where the money envelopes go, you know, big Italian wedding. Just walk around with the bag and go, hi, thank you for coming. And people just
Exactly.
slip their money
Wow,
in there.
that is an amazing likeness of it.
That is a Greg
Oh
Heym.
my gosh, it's
Oh
perfect.
my God, I love it.
It's so perfect.
That is hysterical.
So what we did is we went and we did not have a full 360 scan of you, but we sent a full body picture of you and also your headshot. And that's what came out. And
So
unfortunately he's not as big as like Patino, but one of the bigger ones on the group. So now you got a starting 5, Greg.
Yeah, by the way, he's sufficiently bald enough on the top of that.
There you go.
Come
I was
on.
going to say his hairline is starting.
Kevin, don't take pictures of that.
Get a lot of them. Wait. There you go.
Oh my god.
But you should be in the middle, shouldn't you?
Oh, it's got a.
Hey,
Oh.
that's mine.
This is your starting 5, Greg.
There you go.
This is your starting 5.
I love it.
There
Well,
you
to be
go.
honest, Brunson, if he wants to stay up here, has got to start winning something. So
Correct.
these are winners.
I didn't want to take up much of your show, but I do want to congratulate you and your cast of great characters on success, including even Ray and Lena did a great job.
Well, Lena did a great job.
Yes, they did.
Ray kept trying to end the segment.
Ray's looking forward to a weekly spot on your show where he will not really give much in terms of.
Well, yeah, for the grumpy old man segment, it'll work out perfectly.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm going to jump back out, Greg, but again, congratulations.
Thanks, Matt.
And good luck on the rest of your next 100, 200, 300 shows. Great job.
All right.
Nice.
Well, thanks, Matt Leoni,
So cool.
CMO of BHS. Bunch of letters thrown at you. And on that fun note, why don't we take a break so I can fully enjoy these gifts?
I
And we'll be
know.
right back.
Do you have a big move coming up? I'm Scott Nadler with Cross Country Mortgage, and I've got the loan to match your dream home. Whether it's your first or your fifth, I'll make the process quick and easy. Call me today. Let's make it happen.
Sedge & Zuckerman is a boutique residential law firm guiding you and your clients every step of the way with a solution-oriented approach. Make sure to work with a deal maker and not a deal breaker. Contact us today at sznylaw.com.
No.
Is that a joke?
My guess is this was a Knicks giveaway, and that's why it was that way. But no, that's not why I'm in a bad mood. Okay.
And back to
Well, I have another 40 minutes.
All right.
True.
All right. We're back. Now that all the bobbleheads in a row,
We got everybody
we made
organized.
with
some
my bald head in the middle of it all, let's
Would
get
this
to.
actually be your starting 5?
Well, there's a couple. Again, Brunson's. It's like a probationary thing.
Yeah.
These guys are winners. You know, Guidry's
They're on your
won a
team.
Cy Young Award. He's won
Patino.
2 world championships. Patino has won a couple of NCAA and Greek championships.
Oh, really?
And Alfred Newman is just always winning. But and of course me, you know.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started.
But Brunson, you got to produce. You got to produce
he
in the
hasn't
playoffs.
proven himself yet.
No, and
He could be subbed shortly.
we'll see. There's a couple we have to add, but then it's going to get to be too much.
Too much.
Then I'm not going to have room for guests. We're just
Did
going
you
to
mean
put
Lisa get
bobbleheads.
bobbleheads
I was
now?
going to say, right, they'll just be bobbleheads sitting
That'd be good because the only time I'd be actually able to hit staff is if I hit their bobblehead.
Oh,
It'll be
there you
like
go.
it'll be like, what is that, like a voodoo doll? Like you'll be hitting it in your office, and I'm
And we'll be like,
oh,
wait,
wow.
right?
You
All of a
have to-
sudden, like a little
No.
head
My
tick
neck
or something like,
hurt
what, that?
like, oh,
If anybody
God.
is going to have a voodoo doll, if anybody, Nikki would have one of me.
Yeah.
Just like,
So
he's not
true.
talking about me enough.
You need to have Nikki on.
By the way,
That would be a
Oh
great
my
episode.
God.
Nikki and I
really
will be at
should.
Gusto Divino in Seaford this Thursday and at Third Rail on Saturday. So check it out.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, more great
So
shows.
the big news, well, there's a lot of news going on, but CPI came out. We got PCE that came out, but that was for February, so who cares? You know, anything that happened before the war in Iran, you just throw out at this point. The headline number, which includes everything, was up 3.3% year over year. That's kind of a scary thing. But even just for the month of March, it was up almost a full percent.
Yeah, it hadn't been that much in how long? It's
Well,
been-
because, first of all, those figures were in line with forecasts, so the market didn't panic.
no, but I'm saying just the when was the last time we saw almost a 1%?
I don't know. Why didn't you look it up? Don't you work in research?
I do work in research. I'll have to check it out when because it wasn't in any of the articles and it just had that number.
The problem,
And I and I thought of it now, like when we're sitting here talking about it, I'm like, wait, I never really checked to see
Makes
when
you
was the
think.
last time it was that high.
well,
Yeah.
you want to talk about when the last time something happened. The reason for this increase is gas prices, which were up 21% last month.
Yeah.
Just 1 month, not year over year. Not so. When you look at core CPI, which excludes food and energy prices because they're volatile, actually food prices were flat last month, but energy obviously up huge. Core was only up 0.2% last month and 2.6% year over year. So, and that was below forecast. But if there was ever a reason that you look at core data, last month was it. Because you really, you have a special thing where the war starts, price of oil shot up. Almost 3/4 of the monthly increase in CPI was due to the spike in oil and energy prices.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, this is why we're always talking about core data. So the problem here is it's only a matter of time until the increase in oil prices impacts the core data. Because everything we buy has got to be transported somehow. And then that's
Right, in
oil.
some fashion.
That takes oil, right? Whether you fly it, train it, truck it,
Right.
oil's involved. And I know that I've said over and over again, because Ray likes it when I say it, that tariffs don't cause runaway inflation, but a spike in oil prices will cause runaway inflation if it continues because of that reason, because we import so many goods. Obviously, until the Strait of Hormuz is open, which it's not right now, that's going to create a problem and prices are going to remain elevated. And I know a lot of people may be wondering why, if we pump so much oil here,
Yeah.
does this affect? Have you wondered that when you go to gas up your car?
I mean, yeah. I mean,
You're like, no, that's when you're mad you don't have a
not.
Tesla like me. You're like,
I knew the electric car was going to come up.
The
in
Tesla
some,
would,
in
the
some
Tesla would
form.
have to come in.
see, your
like,
father's smart
somehow.
enough to be riding electric.
He does have an electric.
Now, the reason that even though we literally can produce enough oil here for our own demand is product seeks the highest price. And obviously, I think about 1/4 of the world's oil, or some really high number, goes through the Strait of Hormuz. The fact that it's closed now, people need oil and they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
Well, supply and demand. This is just your basic economics 101. It's just all about supply and demand. And if the supply is stuck, the demand is still there.
And you're going to
it's
sell to the highest buyer.
Of course.
Exactly.
And there's less of that supply because if ships are stuck or can't get through the strait, then there's less out there to begin with.
So everyone's paying a premium across the country.
Right. And we had this, announcement last week that, we're going to have a ceasefire, and the price of oil fell dramatically. But that didn't last very long.
Very long.
With the goods with the oil tankers not moving,
Well, what
you have that issue.
I don't know what there was an agreement to be honest with you, because
Yeah, what were we ceasing?
I don't know. That is an excellent question that we're all scratching our head over now. But this is where, the Fed's dual mandate comes in, because I've been saying on the show that I'm more worried about employment and job growth stalling than inflation. But that was before the end of February when this war started. But with a blowaway number in March, remember, it was 178,000 jobs added in March. And the data that ADP puts out for the trailing 4-week periods, is showing that it could be another 100,000 or more this month.
Wow.
So
Big number.
that would be significant. But, we always talk about consumers have been able to spend because wages are growing faster than inflation. In the March jobs report, wages are up 3.5% year over year. This is showing us the prices are up 3.3%. So you can do the math, and that gap is narrowed dramatically.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, do you find that I'm not saying that it's we all have to prioritize spending now,
Right.
but have we felt that yet? Do you feel that maybe now I got to start thinking about not improving my house a little more? All she does is renovate her house.
He comes to me with the well, I'm I want to say yes and no. Everybody's circumstances are unique to them. I'm in a fortunate position. I've been able to save the money I need to finish all the renovations. So I'm actually not in that pickle of that part. But if the cost of things for the little bit that is left goes up significantly, will I now, what I've saved, be enough to cover?
Is the question.
Or do I then have to push the little bit still further out because I'm going to need a little bit more time to save because, lumber's more expensive. The labor is so expensive. So I don't know yet. I haven't found out. So far, everything that I've done, I've been very blessed, very fortunate. I'm good. So I don't know. We'll see.
Now, is the voice of Gen Z out there?
Well, it's an important voice. It's
Is
a voice
it?
of a generation.
I got a Gen Z son, so I guess I have to listen. But, you hear all this, this spike in oil, inflation.
Yeah.
Do you get worried?
I mean, I don't think, no. Kind of like my short answer is no. No for this.
That is as short an answer as you can give, actually.
That's it.
They say no is a
One
full
syllable.
sentence. But no, I think, obviously yes and no, right? There's circumstances you kind of worry about everything on a level, but I don't think specifically with these issues, it's necessarily the number one thing that Gen Z is freaking out about. I mean,
What is the number one thing that Gen Z is freaking out
how much
about?
time do you have? There's so much.
Well, one thing should only take about a minute.
I think that's the joke, right? There's never just one thing with us. I think there's always 10 things on the
She's bad-mouthing her own generation. We don't do that
You
about
know
Gen
what?
X because we're the greatest generation
You're
since
perfect,
the greatest
exactly.
generation.
Of course.
And there's no
We're just
issue.
too old and tired.
But I don't know. I think being my generation, millennials living in New York, when it comes to saving money, it certainly feels nearly impossible. A lot of times you're either losing money, you're growing into debt, or you're somehow breaking even, or you're just sustaining life. A lot of times it doesn't feel very very possible.
Well, we'd like to
city,
tell you it
certainly when
gets
it's
better
like
as you
this.
get older.
Yeah,
But
does it? Can you guys attest?
It absolutely
You know what?
does.
Right.
The hard thing is the timeline is what's uncertain. Usually you get I did a paper on this in grad school, but usually stay at your first job maybe 3 years or so, kind of become like an expert in the in and outs of the job. You got to learn from the beginning.
Yeah.
I graduated, taught my class in economics. I get a job at BLS, and they're like, here, data entry these numbers into the computer. It's like, oh, I didn't
Okay.
study that in college, but sure, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was a bank teller in college, so I was able to do that. But, and then you got to hit your next phase of your career, which could be anywhere probably between 5 to 10 years of when you really get good at something. And then you get after that, then you look forward to getting the job.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely say your 20s. I mean, in general,
You're
right? It's
paying
not just in New
dues.
York,
That's
but,
the
Right.
thing.
Yeah, you
it's
gotta
a
pay your-
lot
you
of
gotta pay your
figuring
dues.
it out, navigating, figuring out what you like, what you don't like, where you want to be, where you don't. So we're just on that roller coaster.
Okay, well, that's...
Let me know how I'm doing.
I got to live with this with my son. My son doesn't even have a job because he's a freshman in college, but
Gregory's not 20. He's not even in his 20s yet, right? He's 18.
Yeah.
he's 18. And he thinks he knows it. No, he doesn't think he knows it. So basically, what does all this mean? The Fed won't even say the word rate cut because they ain't going to cut rates now. Because
No, but a few governors even were contemplating
about a hike. Well, when inflation is higher than you want, I wouldn't say 3.3 is high because a lot of that.
We've seen a lot higher.
The thing that, and Scott's not here this week, but we always have the Nadler rule that rates go up a hell of a lot faster than they go down. That's the same thing with prices.
Yeah.
And if you think about like the surcharges that airlines, and by the way, some airlines have now raised their baggage fees because of this. They're not going to take those away.
The amount of different tickets you can have on an airline,
it's ridiculous.
It actually is crazy. Like that, you can have basic economy, and they're like, you don't even get water. Like you literally get nothing.
You can't bring a carry-on
it's
bag.
Like, okay, so should I just like fly like where the baggage is at this point? Like what ticket am I paying
What's
for?
What's the equivalent of steerage on a plane? Is that
like,
the baggage?
No, I'm serious. Like it's crazy.
If
like,
it's cheaper, maybe I'll think about it.
There's 6 classes in an airplane. I'm like, how many people have we?
It is crazy. And it's like flights as low as $39.99. You go, wow. It's like if you can fit in your luggage, you know.
Exactly. No, literally, like that's the fine
my
print.
nephew does that all the time, you know, to fly here or there. But he's fine. I mean, he's a kid, so him no frills, whatever, don't care. Because he was off like once not that long ago to Chicago, and I'm like, wait, where are you getting the money? He was like, yeah, Lisa Ray, it's like $30 or whatever the ticket. He bought it last minute. And I'm like, okay, $30 like for an airline ticket. You're like, what?
Yeah.
But you can't have anything. And he was fine. He got everything into his backpack. He could fit it under the seat. And he was like, I got my own water. I don't care.
And they're like, you don't get a carry-on.
And he's
so
he's a kid.
No, you got to pay. And again, you got to pay for your seat if you want to pick your seat.
Sometimes you don't even get a seat, right? So then you have to go and like select it before the plane starts. And it's like all middle seats. I don't know.
But it's crazy because like for him as a kid, I don't think he cares. You got a seat. Like he plops himself in it.
Yeah.
We're like of that age where we remember it was a little less complicated, and you could just drop, your bags, and your bags arrived because it went on the plane with you.
I don't know. I never flew as a kid. Never once.
We did a few family vacations.
18, and I flew to Arizona to see my girlfriend who had moved away. During high school.
Not to get away from Greg, though. Let's just clarify.
The first time I was ever on a plane, I was by myself, actually. I flew alone to Arizona, all the way cross country.
I know. That's
all right, so for you potential home buyers out there, they're saying, oh, no, rates might go up. To prove that, that things don't always work the way you expect, mortgage rates fell last week. So, you can have this inflation, come up. And you can have all this uncertainty and obviously a war that's going to cost a lot of money the longer it goes on, and mortgage rates can still fall. So don't assume that when people say, well, now the Fed isn't going to cut rates, so mortgage rates are only going to go up from here. That's not necessarily true. And to show you, you could have a week where you get this bad inflation data, but then you get like the promise of a ceasefire, and the S&P 500 had its best week since November. 3.5% basically last week.
Positive news.
Exactly.
Can literally change things on a dime.
Talking about how people feel, Gen Zer.
I'm ready.
Consumer sentiment hit a record low in April.
I know. I saw that.
Now, the 98% of the interviews that were conducted for this survey by the University of Michigan was my Ohio State fans. They hate Michigan. It was before the ceasefire announcement. So, I don't know how much that would have improved people's outlook, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
But you remember there's consumer sentiment, which really focuses on individuals' finances, what their situation is. And then there's consumer confidence, which is more about hard data. Sentiment, we always say, is like soft data. Because if you ask me today, I may not be so happy, but tomorrow,
your consumer sentiment is low.
Yeah.
So, and so that was bad, lowest ever recorded. Does that surprise you that people are going to get pessimistic? Well, wars are always going to make people pessimistic.
Yeah, I think it's a sign of the times. I think that a lot of people's how they feel about things, how they feel day to day, is a reflective of what's going on in the world. And I think regardless of what your worldly view is, war is war, right? People, it's never a positive thing, for either side if you're going into war. So I think especially us being in the times that we're in right now, I think it makes a lot of sense that consumer sentiment is pretty down. But I think it'll also change. I think that like it ebbs and flows, and I think we're
It can
down
change
now.
like that next month.
Exactly.
I mean,
It could change tomorrow, to your point. Like one day I
well,
feel
then why
good,
aren't we
the next day I
filming
feel bad.
tomorrow?
Well, maybe we should. We'll
The
all be
follow
really
up.
happy.
Well, we do part 2 tomorrow. Is the follow up?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, in other depressing survey news, the
Okay.
Federal Reserve, New York Federal Reserve, does their survey each month of consumer expectations, and the number of people that think they're going to be financially worse off over the next year is rising significantly.
Yeah.
That's not a surprise either, is it, Lisa?
No. No.
What are we going to do to make these people happy?
I don't know.
We're giving them money, right? No?
Well, I can't
Okay, well.
because I spent it all on renovations. So sorry, I can't.
Well, no, but and the problem is the consumer spending is roughly 70% of gross domestic product. The forecast of what the annual growth rate was in the first quarter, according to GDP now, because GDP later is too late. You have to have GDP now. 1.3%.
Right.
That's their best estimate of how fast the economy grew at an annualized rate. That's weak growth.
Yes, but sometimes you need to correct inflation. I mean, all of the things being beside the point. So not that you ever ignore war, but let's take that like off the table for a moment. Sometimes you need that pullback because we've had such an issue on just a regular basis trying to get inflation down. Something's got to give. And if growth gives a little bit, it could be like that little kernel that jump starts.
Well, the problem is, this idea of a soft landing, which the Fed has only pulled off once
Right.
in its history.
When was that?
Oh, I forget what decade it was. See, I
Right.
did
It's
it.
been
decades
No,
ago,
but if you
okay.
even can just circle the landing
gonna
pad
miss
close
it.
enough
Yeah.
with is, we should take that win. This, the conflict now just kind of throws a monkey wrench into where things were going.
Well, think about it like a real estate developer. You're thinking in the future, right?
In my Gen Z terms, Greg.
Yeah.
But, oh,
Can
gee,
fully
now this is
process.
hard. All right, let's say you spend a lot of time creating this great TikTok video, right?
Gosh.
And it's the best thing you've ever done, and you're just about to launch it,
Yeah.
and someone is beating you to the punch, and now your video is
so
useless.
mad.
That's what a soft landing is like, because you're looking at inflation, you're like, it's coming down, it's getting near 2%, the economy is still good. And then since the data lags, by the time you find out that, you're in recession, it's too late to do anything about it
Yeah.
because you waited too long. Much like you with your TikTok video.
Waited too long to post, missed
Right.
out, not an original idea anymore, not an original thought.
It's like so yesterday.
so yesterday,
Right.
so 5 minutes ago.
I don't get Gen Z. Anyhow,
That's
anyhow,
okay. You don't have to. I do for you. That's
well, thank you. And my
So
son,
we have our resident expert.
what I'm here for.
yeah, if he calls me Unc one more time, I'm gonna smack him.
Your
Anyhow,
son calls you Unc?
it's a Gen Z term for an old person.
Yeah, it is.
I-
Why?
I'm shocked that you know that.
my
That's
son
Okay.
uses these terms just to
I-
mess
okay,
with me.
Yes, he does.
I never heard of it though. What's the, how does it, what was the origin of
I don't
it?
know.
Why
It
Unc?
It doesn't like make sense.
'Cause to me it
this is
sounds
the
like
thing.
you're
anything
shortening
in like a Gen
uncle.
Z, like even like that's what you would think, right? Because that's the logical way of
Right,
thinking,
yeah, that's what this old
Any,
person
I feel
thinks.
Like Gen Z fun term that comes off of like the internet, like there isn't like there it doesn't
Like
make
cap.
sense.
When did stop the cap? What does cap have
Or
to do with
cap
lying?
Yeah.
Lying, nothing.
Yeah,
it's just
I have
like
no idea what that
it's probably
means.
like
Or,
somebody like making
or
like a rapper
6'7"?
once
Is it
like,
really like Lonzo Ball's height? Or I mean,
There's so many theories
I
as to
don't-
what that means.
I don't
It's like
even know.
Everyone takes from different places, but yeah, it's just the lingo. What did you guys
You-
used to say that like
we didn't. We
wasn't-
said stuff that
didn't.
was grammatically correct and made sense. So Kevin's laughing at that.
Oh
All
my
right,
gosh,
on
you
that
guys were
great
like, I
note,
am lying today.
we're gonna. We'd say that's a load of BS or something like that. We wouldn't say
Right,
stop
yeah.
the cap.
Malarkey.
Yeah,
Malarkey.
malarkey.
A prevarication.
You'd be like, oh, gee
That-
Willikers,
A canard.
what are we doing?
All right, we're going to take another break, and we're going to talk about the dream of homeownership in the United States. So stay tuned.
Looking to stage a property but on a tight budget and timeline? Stage with Stage and Fold. Stylish, lightweight, foldable, 3D printed cardboard furniture that looks real. Quick delivery and easy assembly. Staging starts at just $199 a month per room, and setup takes less than 30 minutes. Contact us today to stage smarter, sell faster, save thousands with Stage and Fold.
This beautiful set here at Studio 1873 is brought to you by the Everset. The Everset provides full-service staging and furniture rental solutions in the New York area. For more information, please visit us at staging.theeverset.com or email us at staging@theeverset.com to request a free proposal.
All right, and we are back. Commercial
better.
free, I think, the rest of the show.
Yay.
Coming to you, as always, from Studio 1873, decorated by our buds at the Everset. All right, so the Harris poll, guess what they do? They do polls. Asked 2,000 people about the dream of homeownership. Is it still realistic? It seems like this has always come up. My generation said the same thing. So Gen Zers didn't invent this stuff. As I try to point out, I had a long conversation with my lovely niece, Rachel, who just bought a home
Yes.
near Buffalo.
And they're young.
They're young.
They are young.
And she was saying, well, she had to go there because she never would have been able to afford to buy in Long Island, where she grew up. And I tried to remind her that it's never been easy to buy a home. People, she got married relatively young these days, in her mid-20s.
Yeah, she did.
To her lovely husband, Adam, who we love. The man from Long Island, as my father used to call him.
He's such a nice guy.
Shout
Nice
out.
guy.
He's such a nice
Love a
guy.
Long Island boy.
He doesn't
He's
watch.
a nice kid. He's a kid to me. He's a nice kid.
He doesn't watch.
No.
And if Rachel's watching, it's just
Maybe
to
he
make
will
fun of
this
me.
week, if he knows he was shout out.
Maybe.
We'll see. I'll have to tell Rachel. She'll make him watch it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
ha, Adam.
There you go.
So, they were saying that they would never be able. And my son says this. He's like, how am I going to afford to live in Long Island? I said, I'll just give you my house. And he goes, where are you going to live? I said, in your house.
We're just going to keep a room over
that's
here.
funny.
So 68% of the respondents in this poll agreed with the statement. See, you're putting words in people's mouth literally when you do a poll like this. Quote, homeownership feels less like a goal and more like a privilege. Is that how you would characterize it?
Yeah.
Miss Gen Z 2026?
token Gen Z here for sure. Yeah, I thought that this was really interesting. I think it speaks to the point that, like, when you guys grew up, it was you grow up, right? You get married, you buy a house, you have children. Like, there's a sequence of events to happen and to play out, right? But I think that this feeling, and more than half of respondents feeling like it was a goal is something that, like, okay, you can check off, and like buying a house was a goal. It's the next course of things. A privilege is really something that, like, you are not able to undertake unless you've had access to certain resources, maybe for
Like your parents give you
whole
the
life.
down payment.
Exactly.
Stuff
Or
like
you've
that.
had a certain access to, like, education or higher education or what else it may be. Like, those are all privileges, right? So it's really interesting to think that now a lot of people are viewing homeownership in that way, being like, yeah, I'd love to own a house one day, but, like, I wasn't really maybe born into the circumstances to do so. And it's interesting that a lot of people, I think, maybe have that mentality now.
Well, like I said, I didn't buy my house till I was 36. It's not like you snap fingers and a house appears. I had to pay for my own wedding. I had to pay, my parents didn't have money to give us down payment. I love they were great parents. They pushed us to do better than them.
Yeah.
I think that what may be missing with Gen Zers is parents maybe are not pushing their kids hard enough, because we were raised by people that grew up during World War II or right around that era, whose parents had survived the Great Depression. Right. So there was always this thing, you got to do better. You've got to really work hard. You're going to get more education than us. You're going to have more opportunity than us.
No, but also saving and being, a little better with your money.
Well, the problem is the baby boomers didn't know enough about money. A lot of them, and people today know nothing about. I think this.
Well, and
we've talked about this on the show.
And we have talked about it a lot, and I think that's unfortunately some of the lacking is that, not that parents aren't taking care of their children, but because if they don't have financial savvy, they can't impart that to their children, and so now you have a generation of kids who aren't being taught, not because nobody cares and they've got bad parents, it's just that parents didn't know either. I was a fortunate child. From when we were young, we had an allowance. We were taught, you have to save your money.
Yeah.
We were taught we live within our means, right? So, we weren't a generation of, oh, it broke, I'm just going to go buy another one. It's like, it broke. It's like, all right, well, when you save the money, you can go replace it because mom and dad aren't going to do it. We gave it to you. You didn't take care of it. Now it's your responsibility. You want another one, you go save the money, you go get a job, you go take care of it.
You have like a currency system within your own parents. It's like they're the bank, they're the house.
Right, and
then
they
it's like
always
you
taught
have to,
us that
put
things,
money in the bank and take it out, and it's a
things
trade
cost
thing.
money.
It's not-
It's you have to. Here's what you earn. You can't spend more than what you earn.
Outside
And
your
I,
means.
like I say, I was fortunate that, and I think this is sometimes some of the problem is that parents have a discomfort of discussing finances with their children. You feel like it's such it's a private, and you shouldn't know how much money mommy and daddy make. Like you shouldn't know mommy and daddy's salary. And I'm in a family where I did know. Even like when we were in our 20s, I knew what my parents' salary was. Like to this day, we will sit and have a conversation about money, and we have a Gen Z in our family, and every Friday when we have family dinner, we're discussing all matter of things. And my nephew grew up with a really good, solid education on finances. That's why I joke about, he gets the cheap ticket and he's fine, but he understands it's got to get paid for.
They're good because he wants to do it. Like my son is good at getting cheap tickets to sporting events and stuff like that because he wants to do it.
And that is true. Want is a very
our
important,
generation.
you have to want it enough.
And our
to
parents'
work
generation has no sympathy for Gen Z, to be honest.
I know.
Because
They do not.
nobody gave us anything in those days. And, there were jobs were easier to get when we were younger. You could go, I got a paper route at 11. I mean, who delivers papers anymore?
Man.
I worked in a mall in high school.
Less technology.
If you can
more
find
jobs.
a mall that's still open,
If you can, right.
there's adults working in there. I think, but there are other opportunities like doing TikTok videos and other ways that
Like gig work.
kids can make money. Yeah.
The gig
But I
economy.
think the problem is that the idea, I mean, who's thinking about buying a home so young? I mean, to me, it was like, you're not even thinking about that until you've graduated college, gotten a job, and have a need for a home. And I think that's it. And then everything in life is a trade-off.
And I think people also attach like being married to then I'm going to buy a home.
Well, people get married late. I was 28 when I got married, and people are getting married later now.
Did you think
More
about
in their
buying a home though
30s.
prior to being married, or were
No.
you like I'm going to buy one after?
No, I mean, you think you're going to, because again, we had to save for the wedding. I had grad school loans I wanted to pay off. So we had no debt. And then it's like, okay, we'll rent. That's what most people do.
Yeah.
They start by renting and it's fine. And then, it's like, all right, we try to have children. We had a hard time doing that. So that kind of pushed off buying the home because in our circumstances, we thought we may adopt a kid. So that costs money. So, everybody has a different set of circumstances and priorities. But to think you're entitled to something is ridiculous. And that's not the way the world has ever worked. This idea of privilege, look, if I could help my son buy a house, I'm going to do it. It's my son. He's going to get all the money anyway. What does it matter?
Well, then don't give him ideas.
But, one of the things I think is a good idea is now I never got an allowance. My parents like, you want money, you go figure out a way to
I got
get
an
that.
allowance.
But
Because that was how my parents taught us money and like the value of it. So if
No,
you have
but
your
the
own
thing is-
money,
That's a privilege in itself, right? Having
You've gotta
parents
take
that
it
are
up a
giving
notch,
you an
though.
allowance
I'm
and
not-
giving you money.
you can't just say,
well,
I'm
when
going to
I'm
give
like
Lisa
7, I can't go get a job. So there's no way to teach us about finances
No, but at
without
7,
them giving
you're
it
not
to
asking,
us. But
hey, I'm going to get pizza
Yeah,
with
you're not
my
going
friends,
anywhere
or I
without
want to
your
go to the
parents.
movies.
True, but when the opportunity then came up later for me to want things, like I had an opportunity to go on a school trip to Europe, and my parents went, that sounds like a wonderful opportunity, sweetheart. How are you paying for it? And I went, I guess I'm getting a job. And I did. And I had 2 after-school jobs, and we fundraised and whatnot. But, that's how I afforded. But I wanted to do it because I wanted to go on that trip.
Well, the point that I think I was making is give a bigger allowance to your kid. And make that all the money he or she gets.
I was going to say budgeting is also really
Because then that will teach them
an
about budgeting.
important
If you're going to
thing.
give them whatever it is a week that you can afford, but you're still buying other things. Like, hey, guys are going out for pizza. Can I have money? It's like, no, that's your allowance.
Well, that's why my parents
But you have to
were.
give them enough money. You can't just give a kid $5-10 nowadays and
Well,
don't come
nowadays-
see me until
Yeah.
You know, so we
You'll be able to buy one slice of pizza.
Right. No, but that's what that.
You said two
and
slices
it
of
was-
pizza is like over $10 now. Like,
It's crazy.
You used to get a
It's
pie for
insane.
$10.
But, then you
that-
see
no,
those
but that's
pizza shops
exactly
around
what
New
my
York
parents
that are like
did.
$1 for one pie, and I'm like, I doubt it's $1 when you actually walk inside.
No, there are ones with slices $1,
With
but
tax?
well, yeah.
Then you just need the extra dime.
But the slices are small and they're not.
But that's exactly
not
though what my parents did do is that we got our allowance, and obviously once we were old enough and you're in the store, I wanted to buy a candy bar. Okay, sweetheart, take out your allowance. My parents would
Did they
explain
really say
to us.
sweetheart every time they talk to you?
Well, my
I feel
parents were
like
very
my
nice to
parents
us.
were very like currency with grades, right? They were like, if you're not doing well in school and if you're not doing really well and getting like straight A's, then like you shouldn't be coming to me for anything because like you're not
See,
doing
we were
your
just
part.
required,
like, you're not doing
period,
your
like
job.
to get good grades.
Well, I mean, yes, I think it was an expectation in general, but I think it was definitely like something was set up of like, if I want to go to the movies with my friends, right? It's not even just about paying for things. It's also about like, it's that like action trade-off, right?
It's
like,
it's lessons. How
if
much
wanna
do you
go
want something?
Have a social
What's
life,
it worth to you?
You need to be doing what you need to be doing in other areas. So honestly, every family's different. No one's wrong, right?
No,
Like,
and there's no
everyone has
wrong.
Their own kind of like way that they go about it. But
No, people that
100%.
disagree with me
interesting.
are wrong.
Yeah, no.
That's what we
No,
want.
but there's no wrong
Right, bobblehead,
way
Greg? Okay.
to, every family has to set that up
Yeah.
for what works in their family dynamic.
Yep.
But I don't think that enough families talk about money early enough with their kids, whether you choose to do an allowance or not.
Because they
don't have the
know
conversation.
anything about money.
Right.
Susie Orman says 95% of this country is financially illiterate. I think it's 99.5%.
And that I think is also what leads to the notion that I'll never be able to afford this, or this because they don't understand how monetarily things work.
Now, do they ask? Does Gen Z ask their parents, how'd you buy your home? Like, that would be a good
like
question,
now
right?
I do. Like, yeah, like 100% now when it's like I'm older and like I make my own money and pay for my own life. Like 100% I'm curious. I'm like, how did you go about this? Were you struggling maybe in the way that I am? Was it as easy for you in this area? Like I'm asking all the questions now 100%. But I think growing up, like when you have to, because in order for you to be like literate about something like as you grow up is like it has to be instilled in you as you grow up, right? So now I'm like a 27-year-old woman and I'm talking about it, right? But like maybe I should have been talking about it when I was like 22 or something, or maybe when I had like internships, or maybe I should have been putting that money away. Like,
Well, this
I was a
is the
camp counselor,
problem,
like-
and I was guilty of this too. My first job was with the government. I was making like $23,000 a year. Hey, let me get a new car, right? I was like, wow, I can do that. And you don't really, you're not thinking long term. It's like, what? Well, I need a car.
See, I got my first job, and the first thing my dad said, they got a retirement plan. I went, yeah, make sure you put money in it. It doesn't matter if it's $1,
Well,
you put money in it. My
your father is in the minority
I-
of parents.
I agree. That's why I say that's where we talk about privilege. That's where I'm privileged because I had parents who knew enough that they didn't know everything, but they knew enough that you have to start your first job. You save like it's a bill. That was how it was always. And we say the same thing to my nephew. You get a paycheck, you put money in a savings account as if it's a bill and you have to pay it every single month. And even if it's $1, you've saved something. So you're learning from the get-go. You always have to put in your budget money for a savings, like you pay all your other bills. And then there's always money there.
Well, and the biggest thing is time. You talk about thinking about it twice. So that is not the time. It's just like your health. Now is not the time for me to start tking about my health. I should have done that a couple of decades ago.
Many years ago.
100%.
Shut up, Ray. And I think
Even my sisters, like they are older, they're 6 and 8 years older than me. And so they're like family planning stages of life and stuff like that. And they like encourage me.
yeah,
They're
you're
like,
going to be an aunt soon.
I'm
Yes.
so excited. Shout out my sister. She's 8
We're-
months pregnant today. Her
we're-
baby's the size of a cabbage. She sent me a photo this morning.
I love that she sends those.
It's so
I love those
cute.
texts.
It is
I
really
forget who I
cute,
was
but,
talking with, somebody over the weekend, and we were talking about it. And I think with Danielle at the restaurant. And I said, yeah, the girl that we work with, her sister sends and relates it to food. I said, never mind, it makes me hungry, and then I want to go home and cook something because cabbage and zucchini.
Unfortunately,
and
nobody
bananas
likes
and-
cabbage. Let's be honest. We eat it once a year.
Yes,
Actually,
I do
my mom
for
makes
St.
a good
Patrick's.
beef and cabbage dish.
Does
Really
she?
good.
I wouldn't
It's
know.
very
I don't
good.
get
Yep,
an
she
invite.
makes it in the Dutch oven.
Ooh.
We'll do a barbecue.
By the way,
together.
shout out to Morgan's mom for
Oh, yes,
coming to the
Yes.
gig
No,
and
but she
happy
had a birthday.
Yes,
Happy
I was going to get to
birthday.
that. I'm doing in
Well,
chronological
the
order.
birthday was more
Mom is
important than the
biggest
gig.
fan of the
No
Nikki and Greg
offense.
experience. Nikki and Greg experience.
That's
Like,
true,
it is.
and it's Morgan that taps out. Like Morgan's the one's like, I got to go to bed, and
Right.
everyone's like,
Because
come on.
my mom is like, she's the best.
She's
Like,
like,
shout out my
"Woof,
mom.
raise
She's
the
so
roof."
fun. Like, she's the like happiest person I know. Like, love her to death. But like, you
Yes.
know, we go to Greg's gig on a Wednesday, and I was like, got to be in the office the next day, and I'm out on Long Island, so I'm gonna commute. And my mom is like, you know, she's having fun. She's like, let's stay.
Yeah.
I'm like,
We're hanging out.
Mom, it's 9:00, and she's like, yeah, I have tennis at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'm like, I have I have to go to work at 9 a.m.
That's a bummer, but see, that's the reward for the work that is done.
Yeah.
And-
Years of hard
And she
work.
still works. She's a real estate agent.
Like
online,
I'm
so.
surprised at how many people I know that make a good living, have a home, who didn't save any money for their kids' college. Nothing. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
I understand
a bit
people will
shocking.
say, well, what do you want me to do? I got this. I'm talking about people that had the means to do it. And it's discipline. You know, your kid's born. I can't, recommend 529 plans enough.
I was just
Especially
gonna say,
if you live in a state, as we do, with high income taxes, they're tax deductible, the contributions. So
And that was an opportunity that didn't exist when we were growing up, and time for us to go out. Our parents didn't have a 529. So I think it's one of the best things that got created.
So for those of you who don't know, 529 is a place where you can put money. It's kind of like an IRA kind of thing where you put money in
For
there
for education.
that will grow tax-free. And then if you use it for education expenses, you're good. If you don't use it for education expenses, for your children, yes.
Yeah, for your kids.
So
And
you
a
can
lot
actually
of-
pass it on to other relatives too.
But
if
other
your
people
kid
can
gets a
also
scholarship.
contribute. It's not
Yeah,
just the
everybody can
parents can put in a
contribute.
529. Like I would give my nephew money, holiday or Tuesday or whatever, and my sister would take it and she would go put it in his 529 for him, and that money would just sit and grow. So when he was
I'm
ready,
sure Thomas would have preferred the cash in his hand, so he could have bought something. A little
Thomas
bit more
also
fun.
got cash in his hand because it was Thursday, and Lisa Ray would be like, "Okay, here you go," because
Jeez,
also
I
just
gotta
think
go.
it
I gotta
needs to
show up
be-
for those days.
It needs to be taught in schools. Like I
Oh,
think
I
we're
agree.
over the days.
We talked
of,
about
like,
that
how is
on-
there
in the
not one
past.
class where like you're talking about financial planning and like financial and
And it's
the-
weird because, like, when I was in business school, you had to take it was more of a seminar, but on careers. You know, you had to
yeah, like at least
you had to do a
something.
job interview that was video, and the whole class watched it, and then you talk about that. But
I like that.
no, I mean, it's you have like the people you love and your health, and then there's your money, right?
Yeah.
And it helps with the
true.
first two things as well. But we all want the next generation to do better.
Yeah.
Right. That's just
And-
human
You want
nature,
your
of
kids to do
course.
better
Look,
than
I-
you did.
You don't want them to struggle as or if we think we've struggled, we never want our kids to struggle.
No, you want them to struggle because if it's just given to them,
No,
they
you
abuse it.
you do and you don't, but you're as a parent, you don't want to see Gregory have to struggle, but you do understand the value that's in some of the struggle.
If he's
Kind of
not,
struggle
if
it
he's
is,
not
you know,
struggling,
depending on what
he's
it
not
is.
trying, and you don't learn anything that's given to you or that comes easy. You know, Billy Joel always says, "I've never learned anything from success. You only learn from failure."
Yes.
And I'm not saying I want people to fail, but if I was going to get what I wanted, as most you said this too, we were going to have to make that happen. No one was going to knock on the door and go, "Here's a job, Greg. Here's that."
Yeah.
right.
Things change because things change over time. I mean, I'm only in tune with what kids need to move ahead because I'm a boss who hires young people, and I have an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
I say you have a kid at home,
So
you get the
I'm
generation.
in touch with that. I think the problem is like my parents' generation had pensions.
Yeah.
You didn't live as long. You know, you
Yeah.
retired in your 50s. You put in 20, 25 years and that was it. And then you got your check and you were fine. Doesn't work that way anymore. Hardly anybody gets pensions. That means you have to save money. It's good that we auto-enroll people in 401k plans.
Yes,
because
I like that.
People like, I don't make enough to contribute. No, you'll never have as much disposable income as when you first get a job, especially if you're living at home and your parents aren't charging you rent. that works out well,
Well,
because you could spend your whole paycheck.
That was one of the first things when we were getting Morgan all set up and making
Yes.
sure with her health insurance.
Lisa was like making sure
And
that I
I
did this.
Well,
absolutely.
we do auto-enroll you. So.
We discussed that, and I told her that it's auto, and that she would then be able to go in and make adjustments to that percentage. And I forget what the company signs you up. I said, but you can then make adjustments, but you will get auto-enrolled. And what you're going to want to do is look at your paycheck, keep it at that percentage. I forget whatever it was. I said, try it out. Look at what you get when you get paid with that percent of whatever it is. How comfortable does it feel? Do you feel really super pinched where you can't even go like to get a bagel on a Sunday? Then you have to maybe make a
Bagels
few
are
adjustments.
unhealthy. They're not. No, they are.
What I'm saying is that you don't want to ever
wish I ate bagels.
work and do nothing but I have to save. But you also don't want to go, well, I'm young, I can save later. You have to find the right balance.
Look, a lot of kids, like I said, my son, what he prioritizes, he does. He wants to get tickets to something. He wants to figure out how he can do
that's a kid mentality with no.
He'll do it. But the stuff he's not
Immediate
crazy about,
gratification. That's a Gen Z thing.
No, that's every generation. That you guys did not invent that. Trust.
No, we didn't
No,
invent it,
but-
but I'm saying that like a lot of the times with us, like you need immediate gratification. I mean, that's TikTok, right?
Well, you're living in a Twitter,
That's
TikTok world
attention
where everything's like
span.
now.
Like it all leads, to very similar things. Even if you like want something, like I'm kind of the same way. Like if I want something, okay, like I want it, like I'm going to do whatever I can to go get it in whatever means I need to because I just like want it. So
Right.
like, and I think that Gen Z has that partially because of their like need of something immediately because of their short attention spans and because of just like our culture. And maybe you guys had it in a different way where it wasn't like, oh, I need this just because I want this, but it was like, I know that I have to work for it, and so that's what.
Well,
I'm
there
gonna do.
was, like I said before, there was a lot of pressure put on our generation to do better than our parents. I don't know that parents are trying to do that as much now. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think
I want
I
my-
also think we're about
there's-
to go into the largest wealth transfer like ever, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I think
Well, the
do a
baby
lot of
boomers
parents
got all the
believe-
cash.
Exactly. So I'm like, do a lot of parents believe that their kids can do better than them?
We
Like, are we
that's
going into maybe that?
to me that was the goal of being a parent and sort of how this country was built. You wanted immigrants came here from all these different places and you wanted the next generation to do better. And my parents, never complained about working. My father worked multiple jobs, 4 boys, and I'm the small one. and they ate a lot.
That's a lot of food.
That's a lot
I
of
commend your
food.
mom.
But you can look back, as a parent and say, well, I did this. I raised these kids. By the way, to just put a bow on this article, careful what you wish for, Gen Z. According to the poll, half of Gen Z homeowners said they would love to go back to renting. So keep that in mind. People had warned me when I said I won't be happy till I get a home. They said, you're going to miss that apartment. You don't have to fix anything
Well,
or pay for
maintenance.
anything.
People forget the maintenance part
Now,
of
buying
home
homes or
ownership.
buying apartments?
Homes.
No, buying a
well, homes,
home.
apartment, a house, same thing. It's
But
close money.
Buying a home is like a lot more, I think work in the sense of like when you purchase an apartment, like, yeah, maybe you're in New York, if it's a townhouse, like you own the portion of the sidewalk in front of you. But like when you're at a house, like
You gotta mow the lawn.
landscaping,
Yeah.
like, there's a bunch of like
The
extra-
boiler.
Exactly. If
the
like
roof.
the heating goes, like
When you own it, it's
my,
yours.
My sister and her husband, like they're like, yes, they're about to have their first baby, but like
Mm, so exciting.
their first anniversary is April 26th. So that's going to be their first year of marriage. They purchased their home back in December of 24 going into 25, I believe.
Well, they've been busy lately.
I was going to say,
No,
right, in a year and a half, they've
they
been
knocked
very
it out of the park
busy
in 3 years. They got engaged, they got married, and now they're pregnant with their first baby
and bought their house.
and bought their house. So,
Yeah.
but it's just all these things you don't think about, right? And I think definitely as a Gen Zer, sometimes you don't think about this, like what your parents have done and like how much things cost. Like it doesn't sometimes always.
You don't
like,
always see all the work
translate.
involved in, you look at your parents and go, oh, it's so easy for them because you've got it all figured out. You go to work, you're paying the bills, you're taking care of the home. It looks easy, and they don't realize sometimes all the stuff that goes on. Again, this comes back to the conversations at the dinner table about what it takes to succeed at your job, what it takes
Yeah.
to get into your home, what it takes to manage and maintain
And those are the
your
questions
home.
your generation is not asking.
Yeah.
Like my son doesn't say, how'd you get all this?
Yeah.
You know, because he doesn't.
That's why they think that we
Now I
have it
see it.
easier.
You don't
When I
think
was
the world
18.
today is the world we were in. And I tell
yeah.
my son all the time, it's the same problems. There's different technology, there's different methods,
Yeah.
but
Right.
kids in school always wanted to fit in. You know, boys were always afraid to talk to girls. Like all of this stuff has gone on since the beginning of time. Social media has made this much different.
Magnify it.
But, you know, I tell my son all the time, you can ask me anything. I will answer any question that you have.
Yeah.
And he does it, but he should probably do it more often.
I think I wish I asked my parents more questions when I was younger. Like, I think now, and everyone's like, you're still young, you're still young. I'm like, I know I'm only 27, but definitely as the youngest in my family, and like both my sisters are in their like early 30s now, I just wish I asked more questions kind of like as a kid. And I wasn't like, that's one thing about Gen Z. We usually ask a lot of questions. You normally don't have to ask us. We ask too many. They're like, we're the Y generation. It's like, you don't ask me why you have to do it.
Oh,
just
then
do
I was
it.
way ahead of the
that's
time
the
because
thing.
that's all I
Like,
did was ask, but why?
But I see now I have so much appreciation. My parents are both self-made, and like all of the work and what it took to get here. I'm like, how did you do it? Like truly, like I'm like, it's unbelievable. So I just think, you know, maybe the earlier you can just pat your parents on the back and be like, hey, thanks.
Well, I
Like,
tell my
great job.
son,
Thank you.
at some point you're going to realize, you know, two things. One, that we knew a lot more about things than you think. And at the same time, you realize how little you know about things. And I didn't realize it till I got older.
Yeah.
Look, I can't teach my son how to fix a car. I'm never good at that. You know, my father was into that stuff. I was never, but I can teach him all about money. That's where the economics degree comes in handy. But,
And
you know,
he makes money. Somebody else can fix
and
his car
I've
for
mentioned
him,
this
so he doesn't
before
have to
on
do
the
it.
show.
Amen.
Steve Jobs always said the biggest mistake people make is never asking for help. He was not shy. As big an ego as Steve Jobs had,
Yeah,
maybe as
I
big
can
as
imagine.
anybody
I don't think
ever.
he asked for help.
He totally did. He had no problem
Really?
calling up people and asking them questions. You know, and as I've gotten older, I feel the same way.
That's a good
I
way
will ask
to
people.
learn how to succeed is ask people who you see as successful. And the successes can be whatever you want for yourself to be. Ask that person who has the things that you desire. Oh, I'd like to have a different job. I'd like to eventually own my home. Well, let me ask people who own homes. I mean, I can't ask a renter. They don't know unless they've ever owned a property. But if I talk to people who've owned properties because I want to own a property, well, how did you do it?
Yeah.
What are the things? What are the steps? What should I be embarking on
said this,
to make that goal? How do
Yeah.
I set the plan up? And that's, I think sometimes that's also part of the issue is you have a goal, but then nobody talks about, well, what are the steps I need to take to achieve that goal?
Yeah. I saw
Because
an
the-
interesting quote the other day, and it was like, don't take advice from anyone whose life you wouldn't trade yours for.
Ooh,
Well,
I like
there's-
I thought
that.
that was
There's a
really
guy
Yeah.
named Larry Wingett that writes self-help books. And I know I've mentioned this before too. I bought a book he wrote. It was called "People Are Idiots and I Can Prove It." And
right to the point.
and his philosophy
Nothing to be
is
confused about.
all your friends should be more successful than you. You shouldn't go to a heavy doctor. Like if someone's going to manage your money, they have to prove they have more
They
money
have
than
more,
you.
right? They
Like, no, it's if you're not better at it, then
No,
like
I
what-
guess
right,
that's
you're
true. It's
right.
like
You're a
if
Why-
doctor and you're not
then-
healthy.
Now, am I saying he's right? No, but the
Okay,
one
would you go to a bald person to get your hair cut?
yeah, of course. Because his job is to cut hair, not grow hair.
But that's
No, but his
like,
job
is
is
that
to
not
cut
what you're
hair.
saying?
His job is to cut hair, not grow
That's
hair.
what you're saying.
that's a
No, look,
mic drop.
Respect.
Hey, I
There's
love
that.
you.
I
There's that
think-
mic drop moment
I
right
thought
there.
That was like that was what you were saying. Was
So
it
you're,
not?
No,
so you're
I'm
saying I
not
should go to a
saying
guy
that.
with
I'm
hair?
saying-
Same analogy.
I'm
like
saying
you would go to
he
somebody
said
with hair
that.
because you think they might be better at doing hair because they have hair.
no, because it's like the best players in any sport typically don't make the best coaches. It's a different skill.
Yeah.
Like I've had people ask me if I give guitar lessons. I go, no, I don't. It's like because I don't have the patience to teach people things. Like it's just how I had someone come up at a gig a couple of weeks ago and say, he's like, I've been playing more lately. It's like, how do I get into gigging? Like, how did you do it? And I told him the Greg Heym, I don't know how many points are in the plan, but number one,
Execution.
go to restaurants with music a lot. Number two, get to know the staff and the managers and owners. 3, spend a lot of money there. 4, ask for a gig.
Tip well.
Yeah.
And then tip well, and also finding people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like any other problem. Tell everybody you know. It's like people are looking for a job. Tell everybody you know. You never know who can help you.
Yeah.
All right. On that happy note, see how time flies when you're
Yeah.
having fun, bashing
it
Gen
does.
Z.
Not bashing Gen Z.
Listen, when I was a kid, my grandmother bashed my generation incessantly. She never stopped.
I can take it. It's okay.
Yes, we know that. You got just the
I
right
can
amount of
take it.
Evelyn in
I
you.
get it at
to
home,
make
Right.
so
sure.
it's all right. It's all right.
But
Deal with it.
yeah, we got to make sure we get Evelyn to the next gig.
She'll be there with or without me. Trust me.
Well, you know what?
She's
Tell
just
her.
gonna. I was gonna say she's just gonna
She
start
wants to go
showing
and
up
bring her
without you.
friends. No, she does.
Go
like
for
she,
it. Oh, that'd be
It's
great.
just like fun for her. Like she likes to go.
We'll pick her up on the way. Joanne's always looking for someone to sit with.
I
It'd be
know,
perfect.
true. We'll have to sit together. Yeah, that's true.
They can both talk about how great I am.
All day.
Joanne might have the counterpoint to that argument. But anyway, thanks to Morgan and Lisa Ray and Ray
Having us.
and Kevin for the
Jack.
photos. Don't forget the wallet size, buddy, all right? I know, what's a wallet, Gen Z? You used to have it to put your cash in. I know, what's cash? We could go all day.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
But thanks for all the support. Again, any questions, comments, suggestions, ctl@bhsusa.com. And have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business. And it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.